Chapter 20 A Brief Respite. The forest gradually opened up to a serene clearing, its quiet beauty a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. Mara and Cale emerged from the dense woods, their breaths coming in heavy puffs from the exertion of their recent escape. The air was cool and crisp, and the setting sun cast a warm, golden hue over the landscape. The sight of the clearing, with its gentle light and calm ambience, felt like a balm to their frayed nerves. It was a rare moment of peace in the midst of their relentless mission. As they stepped into the clearing, Mara and Cale took a deep breath, savoring the tranquility that surrounded them. The weight of their recent trials seemed momentarily lifted, replaced by a soothing stillness. They moved deliberately, their movements slow and measured as they set about establishing a temporary camp. The clearing, with its open expanse and dappled sunlight, provided a much-needed respite from the shadows and confinement of the forest. The space felt almost magical, offering a reprieve from the constant tension that had marked their journey. Mara and Cale spread out their gear, laying out their supplies and making a small fire. The crackling of the flames was a comforting sound, blending with the ambient noise of the forest. The soft glow of the fire and the surrounding light created a cocoon of warmth, a stark contrast to the dangers they had recently faced. As they settled into the clearing, they took a moment to reflect on the events that had brought them here. The intensity of their recent encounter had been overwhelming, and this brief pause allowed them to collect their thoughts and reassess their strategy. Mara glanced around, taking in the peaceful surroundings, and felt a sense of relief. The clearing was a space where they could momentarily set aside their worries and focus on the path ahead. The quiet of the clearing gave them the space to reconnect, not just with their mission but with each other. They spoke softly, their conversation a mix of strategic planning and personal reflection. The clarity of the moment allowed them to evaluate their next steps with a clearer perspective. The respite was more than just a physical break. It was an opportunity to fortify their bond and recalibrate their approach. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the clearing's light softened, casting long shadows across the ground. Mara and Cale knew that their time here was limited, but the brief respite had provided them with a valuable chance to regroup. The shared understanding and renewed connection they found in the clearing would strengthen their resolve as they prepared to continue their mission. The calm of the clearing had offered them a moment of clarity and reassurance, fortifying them for the challenges that lay ahead. Mara and Cale worked efficiently to set up a temporary camp at the edge of the clearing, their actions punctuated by the soft crunch of leaves beneath their boots. The process of unpacking their gear was a welcome routine after the chaos of their recent ordeal. The forest clearing, bathed in the mellow light of the late afternoon sun, offered a stark contrast to the oppressive environment of the warehouse and the tension of their escape. The peaceful surroundings seemed to offer a rare moment of respite from their relentless pursuit. As Mara moved with practiced ease, she found a spot near a large rock, its rough surface providing a natural seat. She leaned back, letting the cool, fresh air wash over her and taking in the serene landscape. The clearing was framed by tall trees whose branches swayed gently in the breeze, creating a soothing rustle that added to the tranquility of the moment. Mara allowed herself a brief pause, savoring the stillness and the rare opportunity to catch her breath. Meanwhile, Cale's meticulous nature came to the fore as he began to lay out their supplies. His hands worked deftly to arrange their provisions, and he set about making a modest fire. The process was methodical, each movement deliberate as he gathered kindling and arranged it carefully. The crackling of the fire soon punctuated the quiet, adding a warm glow to the clearing and casting dancing shadows on the surrounding foliage. The sight of the flames was a comforting one, and as the fire grew, it brought a sense of warmth and security to their makeshift camp. Cale's actions were a testament to his strategic mindset, even in moments of reprieve. He took great care in ensuring that their camp was both functional and safe, a small but vital element of their continued survival. The fire's glow illuminated his face, revealing a rare moment of relaxation amidst the ongoing tension. Mara watched him work with a mix of appreciation and contemplation. The serenity of the clearing allowed her to reflect on their recent challenges and the emotional toll they had taken. As Cale completed the setup, she took a deep breath, letting the calm of the environment seep into her. The quiet was not just a physical reprieve but an emotional one, offering a chance to regroup and reassess their situation. With the camp established and the fire crackling softly, Mara and Cale settled down to discuss their next steps. The conversation was subdued but meaningful, a blend of strategic planning and personal reflection. They spoke openly about the challenges they faced, the strategies they would employ, and the bond that had grown stronger in the face of adversity. The clearing offered a backdrop of calm that made their discussion more focused and less fraught with the urgency that had marked their previous interactions. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the clearing, the atmosphere grew cooler. Mara and Cale adjusted their positions, drawing closer to the fire for warmth. The changing light added a sense of transition to the moment, symbolizing the shift from the chaos of their recent experiences to a temporary, yet precious, respite. The evening air was filled with the scent of the forest and the faint aroma of their cooking fire. The stillness of the clearing and the warmth of the fire created a space where Mara and Cale could relax, if only briefly. They took turns recounting their thoughts and feelings, finding solace in each other's company. The quiet camaraderie they shared during this respite underscored the depth of their connection, solidified by their trials and the shared vulnerabilities they had recently unveiled. As night fell and the stars began to emerge in the clear sky above, the clearing took on a magical quality. The firelight flickered softly against the darkening forest, creating a cocoon of light and warmth. Mara and Cale, now more relaxed and aligned, knew that this moment of calm would soon end. But the reprieve they found in the clearing, and the bond they strengthened during their rest, would be crucial as they prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. The crackle of the fire and the rustling of the wind through the trees created a soothing background as Mara and Cale settled into their makeshift camp. The warmth of the fire contrasted with the cool evening air, wrapping them in a cocoon of comfort amidst the forest's serenity. The gentle light of the flames danced across their faces, casting soft shadows that seemed to deepen their sense of peace. Mara broke the silence first, her voice carrying a note of thoughtful introspection. She stared into the fire, her eyes reflecting its warm glow. "We've been through so much in such a short time," she began, her tone heavy with contemplation. "It's hard to keep track of everything, let alone figure out our next move." Her words carried the weight of their shared experiences, a testament to the burden of their mission and the challenges they had faced. Cale glanced up from the fire, his expression serious as he considered Mara's words. The flickering light revealed the strain etched into his features, a stark reminder of the pressure he was under. "I know," he replied, his voice low and reflective. "The pace has been relentless, and every decision feels like it could tip the balance one way or the other. It's like we're always reacting, never truly getting ahead of the game." His admission was a rare moment of vulnerability, highlighting the internal conflict he was grappling with. Mara nodded, acknowledging the truth in Cale's observation. "It's not just the decisions," she added, her gaze still fixed on the fire. "It's the constant uncertainty, the feeling that we're always a step behind. I've been trying so hard to stay focused, but sometimes it feels like the weight of everything is just too much." Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the exhaustion and frustration that had been building up inside her. Cale shifted slightly, the crackle of the fire punctuating the quiet as he sought his next words. "We're both carrying a lot," he said, his tone softer now. "And it's easy to get lost in the chaos, to feel like we're alone in this fight. But we've come this far together, and we need to remember that. Maybe our next move doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe it just needs to be the best we can do with what we have. His words were an attempt to offer reassurance, a way to ground their efforts amidst the overwhelming pressure. Mara looked at Cale, her expression thoughtful. "You're right," she said slowly. "We've been so focused on the bigger picture that we've forgotten to acknowledge how far we've come. We're stronger than we give ourselves credit for, and we have each other to rely on. Maybe that's enough, at least for now." Her words were a tentative step towards acceptance, a recognition of the strength they had found in their partnership. The silence that followed was filled with a new sense of understanding, the air around them now charged with a calm resolve. The fire's warmth and the night's quiet seemed to embrace them, offering a moment of solace from the turmoil they faced. As they sat together, the reality of their situation seemed less daunting, their shared vulnerabilities creating a bond that fortified their resolve. As the night deepened and the stars glittered above, Mara and Cale's conversation drifted to lighter topics, the camaraderie between them growing stronger. The shared moments of honesty and support had forged a new path forward, one that was less burdened by the weight of their mission and more guided by mutual respect and understanding. In the peaceful clearing, they found a brief but necessary respite, a chance to regroup and refocus for the challenges that lay ahead. Cale nodded, adding logs to the fire with deliberate care. Each movement was precise, reflecting his focus on maintaining the steady, comforting blaze. The fire crackled as the new wood caught flame, its warmth a welcome relief from the chill of the evening. "It's crucial that we reassess our strategy," Cale said, his voice steady but tinged with the fatigue of their recent trials. The strain of their mission was evident in the way his shoulders slumped slightly, but his resolve remained unshaken. Mara, still seated nearby, turned her attention fully to Cale, her expression one of attentive concern. "I agree," she said, her voice carrying a note of weary determination. "We've been through a lot, and while we've gathered valuable information, we need to ensure that we're making the most of it. The last thing we need is to stumble again because we didn't properly integrate what we've learned." Her gaze was intense, reflecting her commitment to their cause despite the exhaustion that shadowed her eyes. Cale looked up from the fire, his eyes meeting Mara's with a mixture of resolve and exhaustion. "We can't afford to make any more mistakes," he continued, his tone unwavering. "The stakes are too high, and we're running out of time. We need to be methodical in our approach, take into account every detail we've uncovered, and plan our next steps with utmost precision." His calm demeanor was a reassurance, a sign of the strategic mindset that had guided them through their many challenges. Mara nodded in agreement, her mind already shifting to the task at hand. "What do you suggest as our next step?" she asked, her voice reflecting both her fatigue and her determination. "We need a clear plan to move forward, one that takes into account all the risks and opportunities we've identified. We can't afford to let this opportunity slip through our fingers." Her words conveyed a sense of urgency, underscoring the importance of their next move. Cale took a deep breath, considering their options carefully. "We should start by reviewing all the information we have," he proposed, his eyes reflecting the firelight as he spoke. "Let's map out what we know about the conspiracy and the key players involved. We need to identify any gaps in our understanding and address them before we proceed. This will give us a clearer picture of how to move forward strategically." His plan was methodical, reflecting his experience and his desire to avoid any further missteps. As they continued to discuss their strategy, the fire's light flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to underscore the gravity of their situation. The warmth from the fire and the quiet of the clearing provided a much-needed backdrop for their conversation, a brief respite from the turmoil they had faced. In this moment of relative peace, Mara and Cale's shared focus on their next steps helped solidify their bond and renew their commitment to their mission. As they discussed their plans, Mara and Cale's conversation naturally shifted towards their recent experiences and the emotional toll they had endured. The forest around them, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun, seemed to embrace their newfound openness. Mara's voice, tinged with the remnants of frustration, was met with Cale's steady, reflective responses, signaling a shift from their previous tension. The honesty they had shared during their earlier conversation had laid a foundation for a deeper understanding between them. The emotional honesty they had exchanged was now manifesting in their dialogue. Mara's frustration and Cale's stoicism, which had once created a barrier between them, had given way to a more open and collaborative approach. As they spoke, it became clear that their earlier conflicts were being replaced by a genuine partnership. They no longer simply worked side by side but were beginning to work with a united front, their perspectives aligning more harmoniously. Their interactions, once marked by sharp edges and unspoken grievances, were now characterized by a mutual respect and a shared sense of vulnerability. Mara found herself more attuned to Cale's unspoken concerns, while Cale was increasingly aware of Mara's emotional landscape. The recent events had transformed their relationship from one of mere collaboration into a partnership defined by empathy and a deeper connection. In this moment of candid reflection, they found that their bond had grown stronger. The vulnerabilities they had shared had become a bridge rather than a chasm. This new level of understanding allowed them to communicate more effectively, addressing each other's concerns with greater sensitivity and insight. Their conversations, once fraught with unspoken tensions, now flowed with a sense of clarity and mutual support. As they continued to strategize, their renewed partnership became evident in their approach to problem solving. They worked together with a renewed sense of purpose, each valuing the other's input and perspectives. The respect they had for one another's strengths and struggles had created a dynamic that was both productive and supportive, allowing them to tackle their challenges with a newfound unity. Their collaboration was more than just a tactical advantage. It was a testament to the strength of their relationship. The shared experiences and the emotional openness they had fostered not only enhanced their ability to work together but also reinforced their commitment to their mission. They were no longer just allies in a fight but partners who had navigated the complexities of their situation with honesty and respect. The respite in the tranquil clearing provided Mara and Cale with more than just physical relief. It offered them a precious opportunity to reflect on their personal growth and the evolving nature of their relationship. As they settled into their temporary camp, the soft rustling of the leaves and the crackle of the fire created a soothing backdrop to their conversation. This serene environment allowed them to lower their guards and speak more openly than they had in the midst of their recent trials. They shared their fears and hopes with a candor that had been absent from their interactions before. Mara's voice, steady but vulnerable, conveyed the weight of her burdens and her aspirations for their mission. Cale, usually reserved, responded with a depth of insight that revealed his own uncertainties and aspirations. Their words, framed by the quiet of the forest and the warmth of the fire, carried an authenticity that deepened their understanding of one another. Each revelation they made was a building block in the foundation of their relationship. The personal insights they exchanged not only illuminated their individual struggles, but also highlighted the common ground they shared. This mutual openness fostered a profound sense of connection, reinforcing the trust between them. It was clear that their bond was strengthening, with each shared experience further solidifying their commitment to each other and their mission. As the evening wore on, it became evident that this moment of reflection was more than just a brief pause in their journey. The trust and understanding they cultivated during this respite would be crucial as they moved forward. Their renewed connection was not just a comforting aspect of their partnership, but a vital component that would enable them to face the challenges ahead with greater unity and resilience. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the clearing, Mara and Cale began preparing to move on. The tranquil setting that had offered them a brief respite was now giving way to the encroaching night. The shadows danced across the forest floor, signaling the end of their brief moment of peace. Despite the approaching darkness, there was a renewed sense of determination in their movements. They worked together efficiently, their actions marked by a renewed sense of purpose that had emerged from their reflective conversation. Packing up their gear, they moved with a coordinated ease, each knowing their role without needing to speak. The tasks that had once seemed mundane were now imbued with a deeper significance, their shared experiences having elevated the routine to a meaningful ritual. The brief respite had been more than just a pause, it had been a period of significant emotional and physical rejuvenation. The conversation they had shared had not only provided them with insights into each other's vulnerabilities, but had also fortified their resolve. They now carried with them a strengthened bond, one that would serve as a vital anchor in the tumultuous journey ahead. As they completed their preparations, the fading light highlighted the silhouette of the forest's edge, a reminder that their time in the clearing was drawing to a close. The comfort of the clearing was behind them, and the challenges of their path loomed ahead. However, the unity they had forged in this serene setting provided a stark contrast to the chaos they had faced and would continue to face. With their gear packed and their spirits buoyed by their renewed connection, Mara and Cale were ready to confront the next phase of their journey. The emotional and practical clarity gained from their respite had equipped them to tackle the upcoming obstacles with a fortified sense of purpose. Their partnership, strengthened by shared trials and understanding, was now more resilient than ever. As they stepped away from the clearing, the night air felt both cool and invigorating. The shadows that had once seemed ominous now framed their path with a new sense of resolve. They ventured forward, their steps in sync, guided by the bond they had deepened during their time of rest and reflection. The challenges ahead remained uncertain, but they faced them with a unity that promised to guide them through the trials to come.